some really common things that I'm seeing more recently, and I don't know whether it's to do with AI and people typing in their kids' symptoms into ChatGPT and then ChatGPT directing them to an orthodontist, but a lot of it is patients that are class 2 and have really big overjets, so like their teeth stick out, and because of that their lips can't close over their front teeth. Parent doesn't realize that. All the parent sees is my child breathes with their mouth open at night and they're snoring, and that's what they're googling, not just googling but putting it into ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT is talking about like, oh, you know, they need expansion and blah blah blah, you need to see an orthodontist.
Hi and welcome back, guys, to the next episode of Tim Talks Ortho. My name's Tim. I'm the CEO of TIO International, which is a global network of orthodontists all around the world. And I have the absolute pleasure of sitting down with some of the brightest minds in orthodontics from all around the world. We have a really special guest for you today, and we have Dr. Dima from BeClear Orthodontics here in Manchester joining me. Thank you so much for joining me, Dima.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me on.
No, you are most welcome. We obviously know each other for quite some time, in a couple of years now, I believe that it is. If you want to just run through with our listeners a little bit about you, your history, your education, and then what really led you to where you are at BeClear today.
So I started my journey back in Birmingham. I'm from Birmingham and I went to dental school there. When I qualified, I decided to stay in hospital because I didn't want to be just good at a little bit of everything. I knew that I wanted to get really good at like one specific thing, but I didn't know what that one specific thing was just yet. So I thought I'll do a few years in hospital, work out exactly what I like most, and then kind of go down that route. I travelled across the UK in different posts and got into orthodontic specialty training in Liverpool, and I did my 3-year training pathway there, and when I finished I went into practice straight away. I started at BeClear pretty much the next day after I finished training, and it was an interesting journey because as part of your NHS training in the UK, there's a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily on the curriculum or covered. For example, things like aligners weren't covered as much, or like early treatment of children, things like self-ligating braces. I didn't get to try them out as a trainee. So when I walked into BeClear and all those things were happening, it was really refreshing, and I was really excited to learn new things and try something different basically than what everyone else is doing in the NHS. So I started working there back in 2022 and bought the practice very shortly after. So it kind of worked out really nice because it's nice to buy somewhere that you've already worked in before, because then you kind of know the staff and you know the patients, and it becomes a bit more of a smoother transition than someone just walking in and being like, I'm the new boss type of thing. So it was easier in that sense.
Perfect. And you mentioned, I mean, that's quite a big leap, right? Like you train and do all of these years of education and then to almost come out as an NHS orthodontist, right? So you then took the opposite route, right? And went straight into private, which is so exciting in so many ways as well. Where does the confidence come from to do that and to learn? Because I kind of feel like just projecting my own thing. If I was trained to do one thing one way and then gone, oh my God, there's so many other ways that I could do this, but it was never even on the agenda for us. How did you find that? Was it exciting? Was it scary? Were you just like, right, let's get stuck in?
I'd say that it was really scary initially, but I'm too young in my career to be stuck in my own ways. And sometimes if you do the same thing for like 10, 20 years, you just think that's the only way of doing it. But I think because I came out of training and I didn't have any ways yet, so I was like, I'm not willing to just go down the NHS route of like, these are the only options, like fixed metal braces, and that's got to address the patient's concern. And if it doesn't, then tough, really. Like, do you know what I mean? So I just wanted to have another way of doing things. And I think a lot of the confidence probably comes from kind of going to a lot of international courses and seeing orthodontists in different countries, because it's so easy to come out of training and then just be stuck in your NHS bubble and not really realize that in other countries they're doing things differently. And it's so easy for people to come and think that, oh, we do things the gold standard way in the UK. We actually don't, to be honest. And it's so interesting when you go and listen to speakers from all over the world, from Japan, from Germany, from America, and like learn from them and then see that, well, you can't, like, you don't have, the thing is with doing things outside of the NHS is there's no ceiling, there's no management above you to tell you, you can or can't do this. Oh, the NHS is not going to fund this. Oh, you can't have this appliance because it costs too much. Like, there is no boundaries when you're outside of that. And I think that was the main thing for me. I just didn't want anyone to tell me, you can't do that. Because technically you can do that, but yes, the NHS won't fund it. But if the patient wants to pay for the absolute gold standard, well, why can't I offer it? And that was the exact problem. You come out of NHS training thinking that these are the only options. There are other options, but because you're not trained in them, you're almost convincing the patient that that's not the right way of doing it, which is so wrong, because you should be able to offer all the options. And if you don't know how to do it, you should be able to say, this is where you can go to get that treatment. If you want that, I can't personally do it, but someone else can. Yeah. But you're not even taught to do it that way. You're just taught to be like, this is the only way. So, I think I just kind of wanted to be really, really, really good at orthodontics, where there was no ceiling above me, where there was I could just go down and do the absolute gold standard, and no one can tell me what to do. No one can tell me it's too expensive. We can just go for it.
Premium, top, innovative care.
Yeah.
Like how it should be.
Yeah.
100%, especially as clinicians, right? That's all you want to do is do the best that you possibly can. So
absolutely.
No, I love that. And then I guess when you move into that world, you also, I'm sure you've had this as well, you have every appliance company telling you that theirs is the gold standard. And, some of them are, and each have their own little benefits and those sorts of things as well. How do you now decipher what is truly innovative and good for your practice? Because it's also a timing thing as well. It's not always that it's not the appliance, it's just where does that fit in my workflows and all those sorts of things. So how do you go through determining what is noise and distraction and what is actually going to change your clinical philosophy and your treatment modalities for the better?
I'd say that one of the places I do start is, funnily enough, the TIO community. I do start there because I know that it's got other like-minded orthodontists like me, not just in the UK, but abroad as well. Because the great thing about TIO is it's got orthodontists from Australia, America, Canada, and I can go on and see what they have tried and then see if it's worked for them. Sometimes things that work across the pond don't always work in our demographic, and patient bases and clientele is different. So I'm fully aware of that. But the first thing I sort of look at is who has tried it? Has it worked? And if it's worked, why has it worked for them? Is it because their patient base is different to mine? Are they seeing a lot more adults whilst I'm seeing a lot more kids? Like things like that. So I do start there. And then even if someone has not had a great experience with something, it doesn't mean it's off the cards for me. Like I said, I'm willing to try a lot of things, and I'm very... I like to say I'm adventurous. I'm not stuck in my ways yet. So if there's a new aligner company on the market, a lot of the time there's like over 300 aligner companies now.
It's wild. Yeah, it is wild.
A lot of the time it's just noise. But then when you start seeing who else is using it, I'm willing to give it a go if I'm sort of had a personal recommendation. A lot of the things for me is due to... It's kind of like going to get your teeth done in the first place. You're going to go somewhere that your friend got it done and they were really happy. Yeah. And
someone
it's the same thing for us. Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing for us. If I see someone else using it that, I really respect and trust their clinical dentistry, I'm going to ask them questions and be
especially the people that tell you what doesn't work as well. They're the best, aren't they? Because they go, yeah, this is amazing. And you're like, yeah, I believe you because you've told me the 17 things that didn't work for you. There's no ego. There's no nothing. It's just literally sharing of that. Which puts me on to a topic that I know we've spoken about before, but the Damon brackets. So obviously there's a lot of noise about Q2, Ultima in the NHS, also combined with DentalMonitoring and the gains in which they're seeing. Dash said he started with Q2 and then he kind of went into Ultima but didn't really go deep, and he was like, oh, and it didn't work, but then now he's all in on that as well. I think it touched on what you were saying around, you kind of got to test and you've got to work things out, and what works for you might not work for someone else, and those sorts of things. You're doing Q2 now, is that correct? Yeah,
pretty much exclusively with self-ligating braces in my clinic.
Yeah, and talk to me about that move from traditional to self-ligating. What kind of drove that for you, or what was the thing that made it switch?
So I think it comes down to where we're based as a clinic. We're based in South Manchester, which is where there are a lot of good schools. And it's not just about schools, it's to do with the parents more. And the kind of parents that we have in the area are the kind of parents that don't want their kids to be coming out of schools because their kids got GCSEs and A-levels and
sport on a Saturday and a Friday and a Thursday.
Exactly. And even trying to fit around their schooling, they've got so many after school clubs and sports and stuff that it's just so hard for parents to manage that. And they have more than one child. So then add in like 3 kids into the mix. So we were just thinking of a way to make things easier for the patients, but also better from a practice management point of view. So with using self-ligating braces, you don't need to see the patient every 4 to 6 weeks, which is what you would have to do if you were using traditional braces. And the reason why that is purely because the elasticity of the little coloured bands around the teeth, they go slack. So on the NHS, you know, they might be seen, you're supposed to see them every 4 to 6 weeks, but try getting an NHS appointment every 4 to 6 weeks. You'll be left for a lot longer. But actually, in that time, the braces aren't actually doing anything because they've lost the elasticity. The wires are no longer sort of tied in properly. So with the self-ligating braces, the great thing about it is the wires never, ever lose that sort of activation of being tied into the bracket because they don't have those elastic bits. It's just pure metal or pure ceramic if the patient wanted white braces. And combined with dental monitoring, it's actually a recipe for success because you don't even need to get the patient, you don't even need to book the patient in every 8 weeks. You just book the patient in tailored to them. So for example, a patient comes in, you put new wires in, even like a few years ago before we started using dental monitoring for fixed braces, I'd book them in every kind of like 8 to 12 weeks. Now I don't even do that. I do appointment on demand, which means that for that particular patient, when their wires are ready, I will get them in, not when the general standard of like things
are. The NHS author will be like dying, like your head falls off when you think, oh, I'm sending them out without an appointment. You think, oh, what is going on? So,
but they don't get lost in the system. I think with dental monitoring, the whole point is that
it's closer care.
Yeah, it's closer care. You're seeing them every week and you know when the wires are ready to be changed. And the key thing is, I don't want to be bringing patients in to just waste their time and just change elastic bands. Like I said, patients don't want to be coming out of school for that. They want to come in because their appointment genuinely needs wires changing, push coil placed, etc., like all these things. And you can only really do that with a self-ligating system. Otherwise, even with using dental monitoring, even with all those things, you still need to get them in every 4 to 6 weeks with traditional braces, even with dental monitoring.
Yeah. And clinically around that, if we're looking at the brackets as such, forget dental monitoring for now. I know arguably shorter treatment times potentially, right? Because you're coming in when it's passive and you're not waiting those periods and those sorts of things as well. Have you seen anything else clinically that's kind of like advanced or improved since you've been using the Q2 bracket from your perspective? So
I would say the main thing is the less appointments and then faster treatment times because there's no waiting period where the patient's got braces that aren't active and they're waiting to come in, etc. And then there's that dead time, we call it. Because there's no dead time, the treatment finishes faster. There's less appointments as well in that time, which is great.
Has it changed the way you plan cases, or do you still plan them pretty much the same as you did with traditional brackets? It's just obviously appointment on demand, so your scheduling's different, but in terms of clinically planning and sequencing, is it you still use them exactly the same as a thing? Do you use one talk prescription, or are you using variable?
So I would say the planning is different because we're doing almost dynamic planning now. So before, what we would used to do with traditional braces is you'd get the patient in, you write a prescription for next time. Well, you've got no idea in 8 weeks if it's going to look like how you expected it to look. So yes, you can say, oh, move to this wire and do that, but like, what if it looks different to how you expected it to in 8 weeks? Whilst now I don't even bother with that because I know that I can see it the week before the patient comes in. So I do dynamic planning. So the planning is tailored around the patient, and every time they come in, there's a plan put in place a week before they come in rather than having been written 8 to 12 weeks in advance.
It's not like a happy surprise day. You know exactly where it is and what's going on.
It makes things easier from a therapist perspective as well, because obviously then we can do more accurate prescriptions for the therapists. We can monitor those things more closely. You can see if there's brackets that need to be repositioned slightly, etc., before the patients come in, so they can sort of set up for that, get it ready. It's a lot easier to manage, and also for emergency appointments as well. You're not waiting 8 weeks to see that a bracket's off. You can see it pretty quickly and get them in to fix that.
Yeah. And chair time naturally frees up,
Oh,
I
yeah.
imagine, as a result of that as well.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. And then one question that I often get when I speak to, touching on dental monitoring, which, obviously TIO, we're big advocates for, have led that right from the forefront way back in 2016, 2017. Therapists who use dental monitoring versus therapists that don't, or therapists that are scared of using dental monitoring, what would you say to them?
I would say that you get to see things so much better, not just parking the patient side of it to one side, but actually from a learning point of view as a therapist, if you're seeing your work every week, like you can see if you've positioned that bracket a little bit off, you can see exactly what effect that's going to have. You can see if you've left the wire a little bit too long, what effect that's going to have. Like it's basically like seeing everything in real time, and the learning opportunities you're going to get from it is just unbelievable.
Great. So one area that I think is really unique to you, and an area kind of in the industry that you've carved out, is this niche of early interceptive treatment, right? So sort of looking at 6 to 10 kind of age bracket as well. I know that's an area that some people are comfortable with, other people aren't. You look externally, exactly like you said, at what people are doing around the world, and I think you're right at the cutting edge of that, and that's something that you're really ahead of a lot of UK practices in many respects. What made you decide to go down that route?
I think it started with, I had a few dentists bring their kids to me a few years ago who were really little kids. And obviously these people are dentists, so they want the absolute gold standard. Like they don't want to wait till their 7-year-old gets to 13 and then needs 4 premolar extractions. So they were bringing them to me really early and saying like, I know, obviously in the UK we don't really do 2 courses of treatment and early treatment, etc. But like, please, would you just have a look at him, please? So I got them in, and it was a few dentists. It wasn't just one, by the way. And then I started realizing, I was like, I did treat them, by the way. And then obviously those patients came back and have come back now as teenagers, and they don't need extractions. And I'm not saying that every single case is going to work out the same, but when I look at those cases and I'm just like, how crazy they were. Like if anyone, well, the parents were dentists, the parents were like, they are on their way to premolar extractions, etc. I can just see it. Like the crowding is so severe, etc. And when I look at how I have changed those kids' smile, not just smiles, their whole like jaw development, how it's how it widened everything, made space for all the adult teeth, I realized, okay, so if it was a dentist colleague, like a friend, and I was happy to treat their kid because I want to do the absolute best, like the absolute gold standard, why shouldn't I do that for everyone? Like what I would do for my own son, like I should want to do that for everyone else's kids. And it's not
check on your own son is a pretty good one on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I started doing like a lot more like really little kids because obviously we'd always treat our colleagues' kids, but why were we so scared of treating everyone else's? Well, actually, we should do the gold standard. So I started treating everyone else's kids, and then seeing those kids come back, and you know what, getting their teeth sorted before they go to high school, like when they're still in primary school, oh my gosh, it makes such a difference, especially in today's age of like social media and like just the social pressures that kids have to deal with now that maybe me or you didn't have to deal with as much when we were kids. And I don't have a kid in high school yet. I don't even have a kid in primary school. He's still a little baby, but I just think about it. And since I became a parent myself, it just hits so different. I'm just like, if someone told me that there was a way to prevent him developing X, Y, Z, even if it's not guaranteed, even if it's just like, there might be a reduction in risk of, trauma to his front teeth if we treat him early, etc. Oh my gosh, I'd sign up for it. So whatever I can do, like you just as a parent want to do the absolute best for your kid. And
proactive and preventative as
Absolutely.
opposed to reactive, right? Like
yeah.
It flips the narrative and flips the whole positioning of how we've looked at orthodontics, I think,
Absolutely.
culturally in the country for a while.
Absolutely. I think that's where it stemmed from. It was just doing my friends' kids and like colleagues, and then wanting to then do the same for everyone else. And then as soon as I started doing it for everyone else, they then refer their friends' kids. And then all of a sudden, before I know it, most of my clientele now are really, really little kids. And it's such a game changer. And then now, because I've been doing it for so many years, these kids are now coming back as teenagers. And I'm like struggling to find something to do, because obviously we've always sold it to them as like, this is just a phase 1 treatment. You're going to need another course of treatment when you're a teenager. Okay, it might not be as complex as it is if you didn't do a phase 1, but you're still going to need a phase 2. And that's how I always sold it, because I had no idea what it would look like back, a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. But now I'm like struggling.
Do you actually need a second phase?
Yeah. And the parents are like, no, please, can you just like, whatever he needs doing, like, can you just do it? And I was just like, he's all right, I can make him a new pair of retainers because now he's got more teeth. So, but yeah, it's changed the game. I mean, there are still some, a tooth's come through rotated, etc. It's just a simple case of a few aligners to correct it now. It's no longer like, premolar extractions and all this other stuff that you need doing to sort everything out and fix braces, etc. But being able to treat it early changes the game, not just for that patient, but also like now I see the world differently. I'm just like, I don't understand this whole scare in the UK to treat kids early. But I think I've worked out where it comes from. So it comes from the fact that the NHS says if you do a phase 1 treatment for someone on the NHS, like say a kid has a crossbite, like an anterior crossbite, and you correct it, then, there's this huge scare of like, oh, but they might not qualify for a second course of treatment on the NHS. Well, good. Like, you don't want to qualify for NHS treatment. It means your teeth are really, really, really crowded or really bad if you qualify for treatment. Surely you want to remove that rather than keep it. And that might be a controversial thing to say from me, but you know what? Like, I would much rather my son not qualify for NHS treatment, because it means that his malocclusion is mild. So if I'm able to take those patients out of that category, well, why the hell not?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think you're absolutely right. There is a bit of resistance still. I think it is starting to shift a little bit, because you've got some, bold people that are backing themselves and going, no, actually, logically and ethically, from a purely clinical, if you forget NHS, you forget costs, you forget things, what is clinically the right thing for us to do? And it's what you're saying, right? Like, that's
absolutely
kind of, I know there's not been enough kind of peer review evidence studies and those sorts of things, but look, enough cases coming through like you going, I treated phase 1, I don't actually need to do phase 2. That will compound and will change that narrative over time, I think. What would you say would be the primary sort of things that you're correcting in that age group? I know you mentioned like crossbites and severe crowding and those sorts of things. Are you seeing any sort of trends that are coming through from that? I know everyone's biology is different, so it's it's not apples for apples, but are you doing much expansion or anything like that as well in that phase?
I'd say some really common things that I'm seeing more recently, and I don't know whether it's to do with AI and people typing in their kids' symptoms into ChatGPT and then ChatGPT directing them to an orthodontist. But a lot of it is patients that are class 2 and have really big overjets, so like their teeth stick out. And because of that, their lips can't close over their front teeth. Yeah. And so, but that's not what the parent doesn't realize that. All the parent sees is my child breathes with their mouth open at night and they're snoring. And that's what they're Googling, not just Googling, but putting it into ChatGPT. And then ChatGPT is talking about like, oh, they need expansion and blah, blah, blah. You need to see an orthodontist. And so they're coming to me. And like, I'm not an airway dentist or anything like that, but I'm looking at those patients that are somehow finding their way to me. And I'm like, gosh, they've got really large overjet. And to be honest, even on the NHS, they say that with a large overjet, you've got an increased chance of trauma. So yeah, you could treat it early. So then I'm looking at the palate and I'm looking at the shape of the palate. And because like they're breathing with their mouth open, their tongue's down a lot of the time, it's not up. So the way their palate's developed is that the tongue's not filling the space. And then because of that, the palate's like high and quite narrow. So then I'm able to like expand the arches to make space for the adult teeth. But also the other thing is treating the class 2. Like obviously they've got a big overjet, but treating the class 2 earlier with like the aligners, with the blocks on the aligners, is so much better than asking a 12 or 13-year-old in high school to wear a twin block appliance. Like, it's just not a thing. And well, it is a thing because obviously the NHS still does it and kids still have to wear it. But like, I tend to find that maybe it's just the area that I'm in and the demographic I have. If I was to give a kid a twin block, which I have done in the past, obviously, the bedside table wears it more than their mouth. Like, that's just my experience with it. And you know what? It might be different in a different area. When I was in Liverpool, when I was training, the kids in Liverpool all wore it like it was fine. But maybe it's just like different demographics. mine won't wear it, and they're going to miss that growth spurt. So I'm like, well, I'd rather treat those kids early, and then they don't even realize they've got those blocks on the aligners. They're so discreet, they're clear, and it's correcting their class 2 before they've even become a teenager, before they've even gone to high school. So it's just so ideal. So the main things I'm seeing is kids who are mouth breathing, but I'm not treating the mouth breathing. Like, I'm not an ENT surgeon. I'm just here to say they've got a large overjet. They've got incompetent lips. They can't close their lips over their teeth. Let me correct the class 2, increase the chance of the lips being able to close, and then see what your symptoms are. If you've still got symptoms, obviously it's out of my expertise. Go see a ENT, someone else. Sleep clinic, something like that. But all I know is I need to expand, I need to correct the class 2, and those are the 2 biggest things I'm seeing, expansion, class 2 correction.
And how many, just to give the people listening a kind of a steer on ratio, how many of those patients inbound that are coming to you because you're now the person, and I know people aren't just travelling from Manchester, they're travelling from all around the country to come and see you. How many would you say, from ballpark figure, I appreciate, this is a question off the cuff, go into phase 1 treatment, and how many do you put on like retention or say actually refer out to a specialist ENT or sleep clinic?
I've not ever referred someone to ENT. Like if they're talking a lot about airway, I just sort of reassure them that I can deal with the dental aspect of things. But if there's any other symptoms, I don't even really direct them to ENT. I tell them to go to their GP, because I feel like the GP might know who to send them to. See your GP about those other symptoms, but from a tooth point of view, we can sort it out. But it's interesting you say about bringing them back for recalls. And I used to do that a lot. I used to say, you've not got all your adult teeth yet, which is, again, the very NHS way of doing it. They won't refer the patient for ortho treatment until all the adult teeth come through. And I used to do it as well. And then, but recently, I'd say when I look at my cases in the last sort of 9 to 12 months, I've hardly done any recalls, because yes, I could I can recall them, but they're usually wanting an option now. They've already been told that they're going to be recalled on the NHS. They've already had that. So they're coming to you because they know they're having to wait for something to develop, but they're saying, can you just do something right now? We get that, we need to have another course of treatment. We understand all of that, but can you just do something for now? That tooth sticks out. He's really unhappy about it. He's going to high school in September. Please, can you just sort that one tooth out? So then I'm like, and it's that way of thinking that's shifted my mind, where it's like, am I here just trying to save the patient money and saying to them, you know what, just wait a little bit more, wait till more teeth come through and you just do it in one course.
Improve their life.
Or improve their life. The parents are saying he's really stressed about it. It's giving him problems at school. Please, can you just sort this one tooth out?
I have the tools to do it.
Yeah.
I have the knowledge. I have
so
the
why not just do it?
Yeah.
It comes from that mentality of but we don't want to charge them twice. We don't want, well, they're saying they want something doing, so just offer it. If you can do it, obviously.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a lot less recalls. When you're talking about ratios and stuff, I wouldn't know figures off the top of my head, but what I will say is that Angel aligner, which is one of the aligners we use.
Just going to ask you, who are you using for phase 1?
For our kids' treatment, we use a lot of Angel.
The A6 is really good for. Is it the A6?
So good, yeah, amazing. They came down to my clinic a few months ago to give me an award for the second highest number of kids cases in the UK. So I must be doing a lot. I must be seeing a lot more than other people.
Well done.
Thank you.
Nice. So A6, do you ever do any fixed phase 1, or is it all aligner based?
I've done a bit, but with the fixed phase 1, you're really only correcting one thing. It might just be that there's this one tooth that's rotated that they just want derotating, but there's usually not enough adult teeth to put the braces onto.
Yeah.
So I say to parents, I'm like, we can do it. We can just correct that one thing, but why not just correct everything? And it's not going to cost that much more. It's still phase 1 treatment, but we can do it with aligners, and therefore we can wrap the aligner around every single tooth and correct everything.
Yeah. And you find that there's no issues with compliance, and in that it's actually really good with the aligners in phase 1 for younger kids.
I would say
teens are a bit hit and miss.
Yeah. I would say the 6 to 10-year-old age group is the absolute best compliance out of all our patients. The adults are well, I'm going to the pub, I've left them at home, the aligners, I forgot them. They don't wear them 22 hours a day. The teens, it's a slog to get them to comply at a certain point. After they've done a certain amount of time, they fatigue. But the young kids, they are the best. They still listen to you. They're not that moody teenager. phase yet. So yeah, I would say best compliance combined with dental monitoring as well. It's like a game. So they're like scanning and they can't wait to do the little like the ball game scan, because we use like this version 2 with these little balls on, and they absolutely love it. So it works really well.
Amazing. Want to switch up a little bit now and talk about purchasing a practice, because I find this bit really intriguing. As someone who gets to spend a lot of time in practices all around the world, it's not that often that you see someone come straight out of training, buy a practice, and make that practice continue to fly as well as you have. And not only do that, but diversify and really carve out a place in the market for you in your area, locally, but also nationally when we're talking about, phase 1 and young kids. So talk me through how that came about. Did you kind of go, I'm going to buy my own practice, that's what I want, you've always wanted, or was it opportunistic? Like, how did that happen?
I'd say that I always, since I was like, when I was still in school, I always knew that I wanted to have my own place. Back then, I thought I'd have my own shop. Like, that was me as a little kid. I just wanted to be my own boss. And I don't know whether that stems from just like seeing my parents, both doctors that work in the NHS. So like seeing them have to do like all their like night shifts, and then kind of, if they ever wanted annual leave, they couldn't take more than 2 weeks at a time, and stuff like that. Just having to go through a lot of like management to get to coordinate their time off with school holidays and blah, blah, blah. And then I just knew, like, because I had both parents as doctors, so it was, and they're both in the hospital. I just knew I didn't want that. So I knew that whatever, and I didn't realize there was kind of like an in-between. I just sort of thought it was that or be your own boss. Like I didn't realize there's like, own a shop. But like I didn't really realize there was like a middle ground, because you're a kid back then. So then I went to dental school and everything, because I definitely didn't want to do medicine because of that. So I knew that I will sort of see what I do after dental school, but I knew that I wanted to have my own practice. I definitely did not want to stay in hospital. I hated working in hospital, not because of the actual patient, like, as in I loved the patients in hospital. They were really complex and I loved that. But it was literally just hospital management, like just having to go through, anything you want. Like if you want to try a new bracket system, which I love to try new stuff, as you know, gosh, the business case you have to put forward and like literally beg on your hands and knees, like, please, can I just try this? Like, I promise I'll get it for free from the rep so I can try one case. Like, I'm begging, can I just try it? And like, they don't even have to pay for it. And there's still red tape to get it through the door. And I just could not even fathom, like the day I finished training, I was like, I'm never working in hospital again. I'm never even working in a practice again, like an NHS practice where there's that sort of like, you can and can't do this. I was just like, it's either that or I have to own my own place. So I knew that I'd eventually own my own place. And then it was just sort of, when I was working at BeClear, it was the right place, right time, because the owner at the time, she was looking to relocate and she was looking to sell. And because I knew all the patients and everything, it sort of made sense for me to continue that practice, continue that journey. Although I was not scared of starting my own if I had to, like, as in if
like a squat.
Yeah, squat. Like if that opportunity hadn't come about, I was already thinking about squats as soon as not even when I finished training, before I finished training, about 6 months before, I was already thinking about it. I was just like, how long can I last working like this, where I'm not the decision maker? And then I was like, I think I'm going to burn out. Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. So I'm going to have to find my own place. But then luckily the opportunity came about. So it was great. Great timing.
And great timing aside, it's a big commitment and a big decision to make, which I'm sure, some people kind of dream about that day. Some people are closer. Some people have just done it. Some people did it a long time ago and are now, having through the other side. What are some of the biggest things you had to really sit back and consider before you signed on the dotted line, if you like?
I think the biggest thing really is when you go to dental school and specialty training, you never get taught about HR and you never get taught about like taxes and marketing.
P&Ls.
Yeah. Even
cash flow.
Yeah, all those things. So yes, maybe like I was really excited to do all the clinical stuff. And the only thing that was really in my mind was, oh my gosh, I'm going to get to be the boss. I can buy what I want. I can do what I want now. Like there's no boundaries. That I was just so excited about that I think I didn't really realize what a massive commitment all the other stuff is and how much time it would take. So even now, like, you know, I'm not full time in the clinic, but I have a day every week just to do all that admin-y stuff that's
work
like
on the business,
yeah,
not in the business.
Exactly. Because if I'm in the business doing the clinical work, I can't answer all these like very complex emails about stuff like just stuff that I'm not trained to do. Like I have to take my time to like research it, get advice from the right people, from HR, blah blah blah, whatever. Like how to formulate this or whatever. And I think that was sort of the biggest challenge, learning all that side of it. But I had a lot of great support at the time. So the previous owner, she really supported me through the transition, and also with marketing, I had a lot of support from TIO. So the transition was great in that sense. Like I didn't have to like start from scratch, if you know what I mean. And I think that's the scary thing with doing a squat, for example. I can imagine it's scary because there's no patients through the door on day one. I didn't really have that. So that wasn't a stress, but it was more like, how am I gonna, like, this is such a big business with so many patients. Like, how am I gonna keep this not just afloat, but like, keep it doing well.
And then you've got debt as well, right?
Yeah,
Anyone
exactly.
who buys, that's the difference between
you inherit
spot and
it.
buy. You inherit debt just by nature.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously that's all factored in, but I think emotionally and psychologically, that's still a big thing to carry, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge amount of pressure that owners carry that I don't think people particularly realise, especially the route that you took. It's not, you're just kind of buying in a portion of it and then taking an associate wage and then part of production as well. You're actually like, you're in from day dot, right?
Yeah, I'd say that like that's the biggest thing is obviously having just being able to like make all my own decisions, like not just clinically, but everything else. Like I can make any decision about the business. I can hire who I want, do what I want with the business. But with that comes huge responsibility. Like if a member of staff doesn't like a decision I've made for the business, you know what, they can hand in their notice, but I can't hand in my notice. So if I don't make the decisions that suit the business, I've got no exit from it. Like it's got to suit me and it's got to suit the business.
Yeah.
And that I would say is the biggest thing. Like you can't please everyone. Not everyone's going to be happy with decisions you make, and it used to really get to me like a couple of years ago when I first took it over. I'd be like so scared to make any decision. Like what if so and so isn't happy with it? What if like the patients aren't happy with it? What if this member of staff's not happy with it? But then now I'm just like, it doesn't really matter who's happy with it and who isn't happy with it. Like ultimately I'm paying the debt on this business. Like I have to make sure this decision works for me, but also it's got to be the right thing to do for the business. So I always have to take my hat off and put the business owner hat on. Like, what's going to make this business flourish?
Yeah. And that's hard when you inherit a team and those sorts of things as well, right? Because you inherit something and you, want to make it your own, which you're absolutely doing, you know, taking it in different directions. You want all your team to be happy, but sometimes, unfortunately, misalignment happens for whatever reasons. A business is a business. It happens to everybody, the greatest leaders in the world. But you have to wear 5 different hats at any one given time, right? And I love the physical manifestation of take it off and put it on. We were actually taught that in management training way back then, which is actually who are you and put it on. And it's a segmentation between those priorities because you're conflicted as a leader a lot of the time. Like that's just a natural state, right?
Yeah.
You have the decision, but it also means that that's on you at the same time.
Yeah.
All right. Couple of years in, owning a business, is it more social or lonelier than you kind of thought going into it?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I would say going into practice in general is more lonely if you're like the only orthodontist in the practice, because you don't really have anyone else to share your thoughts with. I mean, now it's great because my friend works with me in the practice. So she's an orthodontist as well. And we get to like bounce ideas off each other and get a second opinion. And like, if I think I should do something for a patient, but I'm like, you know what, I think I'll book you in with the other orthodontist as well, just to get a second opinion. And it just makes the clinical strength of your business so much better. But that sort of has made things a bit less of a lonely world. But I would say, again, TIO community has been amazing. Like even before my friend joined the business, and still now to this day, if there's any cases or any decisions I'm really struggling with, I'm like still really, really new to it. I'm not here to say I know it all. I definitely don't. That's why I'm saying like I like to try new things, because I don't know it all at all. But there are people that have owned their businesses for a lot longer than me, and I have made a lot of more mistakes than I have so far, or have learned from things that were really successful. So sometimes if I'm posed with like an issue, I'll jump on and ask another orthodontist from TIO, what I'm in this sticky situation. Like, what would you do? Like, have you been in this situation?
Have you been here? Yeah. What worked, what didn't? Yeah. And I love that they're all like, don't do this. Yeah. We tried that, don't do that.
I think it's nice because I think I'm one of the youngest members of TIO. Yeah. A lot of them are older than me, and I absolutely love that because they sort of give me really genuine advice, like, we've been there, Dima, like, we've done that, and look what happened, blah, 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 or like, do this instead, this is going to work out amazing. And I really do take it on board. But the great thing is about being a business owner, and I always say this, is like I can get advice from so many different people. Everyone will say different things, but ultimately it's my decision. Like I can just say, I'm listening to all of that, but I'm not going to act on it. Or I can say, I am gonna, like, do you know what I mean? Just it's my call at the end of the day.
You have agency to do what you feel is right at the end of the day. Gather the information, make your decision, and move forward. Like,
absolutely.
Love that. Obviously, bought the practice, done really well, you know, like playing with all of these technologies, but let's just add in there, you actually became a mum as well through this journey, right? It wasn't like you were just doing all of this. You also brought a little human into the world. How do you balance all of that? Because that's a lot, you know, business, running, mum at home.
Yeah.
Talked about having 5 hats before, you now have 6, if not 7, 8.
I love that. Basically, it was a little bit stressful because when you own your own business, there's no real concept of maternity leave. Like, that thing doesn't exist. So I did have a bit of a maternity leave. Like, luckily, I've got really good friends in orthodontics that helped me with the clinic whilst I was on maternity leave. So I took 3.5 months off, and then I came back. I wasn't full time though. Like when I came back, I only came back like 2 days a week, and it wasn't even 2 full days. It was basically like 2 half days a week, which was perfect for me. And a lot of people at the time, when they heard that like I was putting Yusuf into nursery at 3.5 months, and like that I was going back to work. Obviously, he wasn't in nursery full time. Can I just say it was 2 days a week? But like people seem to think,
no mum guilt needed here. Like, you're juggling a lot.
People seem to think it's like the craziest thing in the world. But then I'm just like, hang on a minute, okay. I don't have any family nearby. Like my family live in Birmingham and I live in Manchester. And you guys, okay, you've not used nurseries and stuff, but you have your kid at your mum's house all the time. Your parents help out. Your sister helps out, this and that. Like what difference is that from me putting Yusuf in nursery so that I can come to work on my business? And it wasn't even full time, but I felt like it's not so much that I got judgment, but it was like people were just so shocked and like, oh, are you even ready to go back to work? I was ready to go back to work. Like I didn't really even have a mat leave. Like I was working during my mat leave.
Every mum on mat leave, and they're like, come back and have some like adult conversations. Yeah, I'm
honestly,
sure you're not alone in that.
And it was good because I do feel like a lot of people, okay, fine, they take 12 months off and then they come back to work, but they have to go back to work full time. I took 3.5 months off, but I've never been back to work full time since. And that was the great thing about it, that because I'm a business owner, I can structure the business to suit my life. And I think there's just so many challenges that you have with being a parent, and I don't think the world is designed, or maybe the UK isn't designed for 2 working parents, because for now it's fine. Like in nursery, you know, nursery finishes late, you can pick your kid up whenever, etc. But you know, when they go to school, like I always wondered, when they go to school and they finish at like 3:30, but like both parents work 9 to 5, like how does that work? Like luckily I'm my own boss, I can do what I want. Like, if I want to finish work at 3:00, I'll be finishing work at 3:00. Like I can do what I like, but I just don't think the world matches the reality of like 2 working parents in the UK. I just don't think that works. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Or I think I kind of look at my poor mum. She was a single mum and, you know, kind of had to raise me, right? But it was very much, sports. Like I never wanted for anything. I was in sports, I was in arts, I was in it, you know, and I loved it, like to the point that it was functional because she had to work to
after school
us.
clubs.
Yeah, 100%. And I actually think that's why I'm arguably annoyingly social, is because I love being in that kind of environment as
and
well.
Creative.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I agree with you, yes, but I also think, you know, there's, as someone that went through not having the mum pick me up at 3 o'clock every day, of course, would have loved that. And a lot of friends did. But did I feel like I missed out because I had a different experience? Absolutely not. But that's only my experience on that.
That's so refreshing to hear, like to hear it from the other side, because I was the same. Like I said, both my parents were doctors, so I didn't have my mum picking me up at 3:30 every day. But I don't feel necessarily like I missed out, but I just don't understand how the average couple deal with it. I guess they have a lot of family help, but then are we just all these businesses just relying on grandparents helping our employees out?
Yeah, or goodwill and flexibility of working hours, and that's why people will take those kind of roles over higher salaries and these things as well. It's kind of lifestyle is coming more to the forefront, I think, in terms of decision making on roles and things. One question that I do have is exactly that, and around boundaries and splitting between your two very big roles, business owner and mum, right? Like, do you kind of, once you leave that practice, that's done, but everything's digital. You can get on DM, you can look at, you know, all of everything. It's always with you 24/7. I know I WhatsApp you and you respond like that, like any hour of the day, do you know? So you're clearly constantly on, but how do you have any tips, routines, habits that you do to segment those two, or is it just fluid?
I would say that I never, before I even had a baby, I never really switched off fully. Like, even if I was on holiday, I was still contactable by my employees if they need to. You know, they're still contactable. Like, if there's any issues, any patient queries, etc., like, you know, they'd message me on holiday. So I was already used to that. But it's different when you introduce another human into the mix, because I want to give him my full attention. So I would say that a lot of my out of hours work that I do, like when I'm not in the clinic, is in the evenings after he's gone to bed. So I put him to bed, and then as tired as I am and I want to fall asleep with him, I will come down and I will sit on DM and do all those things that I need to do. And it's just, I just don't really like to have my laptop open whilst he's there, because firstly, he's so curious, he'll just be like, I want to go on the laptop.
Like, unseen.
Yeah, exactly. Firstly that, and secondly, like, well, it defeats the purpose of me not having him in nursery full time, because I haven't put him in nursery full time so I can spend time with him. And I'm just like, well, if I'm going to do that during the day, like, I should have just not kept him at home then. But I kept him at home because I want to be part of his, like, you know, routine every day. So yeah, I would say I try and do it when he goes to bed. That would be most of my working hours, is late at night.
Yeah, I was always a night owl as well. I'm not kind of like comparing apples to apples, but when it's quiet and everyone's asleep, I'm like, that's my focus time. Yeah. No distraction. I can power through so much. Because
the world's asleep as well, so 100%. They're not WhatsApping you and Snapchatting you and sending you TikToks. Gosh, like that can waste.
And how's your sleep? How's your sleep going?
It's a lot better now, because obviously he's over 1 now, so he sleeps through the night, which is such a savior. I do sleep really late though, just to get all my work done in the evening, and yeah, I would say it's manageable.
Feeling semi-human again.
Yes.
Was there ever a point that you kind of paused and went, okay, between buying this business, becoming a mum, this is all just too much, or are you just not built like that? Because for most people, from the outside, I know you're like, oh, it's fine, like I just do it and I'm me and things, but have you ever stopped and paused and gone, whoa, this is a lot?
I'd say that before I bought the business, funnily enough, me and my husband were wanting to relocate to Australia. I know, it's so ironic, given like...
Here I am the other way around.
I know. So we actually wanted to relocate, and then if I had my own business, it was like I was looking to do that over there and everything. But obviously we did not, and that's not on the cards. And, you know, moving abroad is not something that I'm ever probably going to do because I own a business. But like in the most stressful of moments, I'm just like, you know, when the business is like on fire some days and you're just like, oh my gosh, like I just wish I lived somewhere sunny. Not that the sun fixes your problems, but it low-key does.
It does. It makes it
like it's sunny today.
You walk outside and go, oh, it's not so bad.
I know.
Honestly, it does. I don't care who disagrees.
I know. Oh my gosh. And then I'm just like, should I have just moved to like the Middle East and live in Dubai like an influencer does and does absolutely nothing and just drink matcha? I absolutely hate matcha, but just drink matcha and go to Pilates every day and then spend my time with my son and do nothing. But then when I actually think about it, and I'm just like, during COVID, we did nothing for a couple of months. And yes, like I enjoyed doing that, but I really was itching to go back to work. And it was the same with mat leave. Like, yes, I enjoyed being at home, but like I actually genuinely like what I do. Like, and it's really cringe because people always say that weird cringy thing, which is like, oh, if you do what you love, then you know,
never work a day.
You never work. Yeah. And it's still work because obviously it's a lot of responsibility and all of that. But like, if you enjoy your work, like you don't dread it. I'll put it that way. Okay.
The Sunday pit.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that we kind of always like to end on and wrap on is lessons learned, because just as, you know, you are a member of the TIO community and you've just said about paying forward those learnings, and that knowledge can really change the trajectory of someone just starting out on that journey, or someone who's, you know, been on it for a while but struggling with a particular piece. So if you could go back through your journey, what would you say has been the biggest learning curve that you've had to date in terms of purchasing the practice clinically or balancing being a human and a business owner?
I guess I could break it up. Clinically, I would say the biggest learning curve is when a patient comes to you and asks for something, don't try and waffle on something that you can do instead, because you can't do specifically what they've asked for. Like if they've asked for something specific, either skill up and be able to do it, or answer them in a way that's genuinely honest. Like, yes, that is actually the gold standard. I can't do that, but someone else can, and I'll point you in the right direction. So clinically, I would say, don't have a ceiling. Like, just know that there are other options. And as taboo as you might think they are, or as controversial, and like, we don't do that in the NHS, we don't do that in the UK, etc., doesn't mean that it's not the right thing to do or that it can't be done. So biggest lesson clinically is there is no ceiling. Go international and learn from other people. Don't restrict yourself. And then the biggest, and then the biggest thing about the business side of it is, don't underestimate a really good member of staff. Like if you, and I guess this is like kind of cliche, people always say like, oh, if you treat your staff well, like they'll look after the business, but they really, really, really do. If you involve them to make business decisions with you, like you take their opinion on board for like big decisions, and you are nice to them, you give them that flexibility. Okay, they don't own the business, they can't leave at 3:00. You know what I mean? But if you want to give them some flexibility, they will really, really, really show that appreciation in how they treat your business. They're not coming in to clock in, clock out. Like they're coming in because they want to grow your business for you. They're in because they know that they have, like, for example, there are some dental practices that I know of, because my staff used to work at them before, where they weren't allowed to have their phones. Their phones had to be locked away in their bags, and they could only take them out for the 1 hour lunch break, etc. And if you treat those staff members like children, they will want to just clock in and clock out. They're going to be, when am I going to next check my phone, like stuff like that. But if you do stuff like that, it just comes to bite you in the bum. Like they don't want to be there, like they don't want to come to work. But if you give them that like a slight level of authority and flexibility to like manage their schedule, as long as the work is done and you trust them, then honestly it pays dividends. And I think I've learned that as well over the years, and I'm like so happy with my team. Like I've got such a great team, and I think that's because it's a two-way relationship. And
then personally,
I would say I guess I need to take my own lesson on this one, but probably I would say to try and switch off a little bit more, to take breaks, because I am always switched on. But then if I have like a lazy weekend where I'm like even mildly switched off a little bit more than I would be, gosh, I feel so good afterwards. I'm just like, I need to have more like these. So yeah, try and switch off. It's a really hard one.
Yeah, it is, especially when you're breaking new ground and you're just constantly striving, right, to rest, recharge, and then propel even further forward. It seems counterintuitive. Like something I struggle with as well, so I'm not even going to sit here and pretend that I've cracked that. I'm kind of like, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, and stuff. So I get that. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Dima. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been really interesting to get insight into your journey, BeClear, and where you're positioning that, and the change that you're making in the industry as well. So thank you so much for sitting down. Final question that I do have for you. What's next? Where's Dima and BeClear going next?
Hopefully somewhere sunny, to be honest.
Australia, you heard that first.
I'd love to open
We're
BeClear
opening
in
a
Australia.
BeClear in Perth,
Yes.
and I will be the first person to walk through those.
There we go. So I'd love to have you there.
Thank you. Well, that's all we have time for today, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Just a reminder, we drop a new episode every month. So if you do like it, please do let us know. And we will be back next week with another podcast. Thanks.